Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. Again, we invite everybody to join us over on Patreon, growing family over there. Exclusives going up each week. We speak very plainly over there.
It's a bit therapeutic, I'd say.
It's a fantastic group of people, and we're so grateful for everybody's support. This year I will be 60. Wow. 60 years old. What time flies, just saying. When I grew up, you could look at when I was born, you could see this is the global population and what religion do they associate themselves with. And this is broken down Christianity-wise into the individual, at least the bigger segmentation. You could see Roman Catholics were the largest single group on the planet when I was born, which... this is again breaking down the Protestants here, and then Orthodox Eastern Christians there, Christian Anglicans, and you see Hindu, and you see Sunni Islam. Things have rapidly changed, and when we move forward now, and of course we're talking about this because the new Pope that just got elected, who happens to be American, now we see that what is really the number one dominant religion, Sunni Islam. It has passed, Roman Catholicism as, the number one most dominant religion on the planet. And then you have Shia down here, and as you can see, Hinduism, and then Christian Protestants, and then Buddhism, Orthodox Eastern. Again, Christianity has a slight lead altogether, but Islam is going to pass it. Yet, I would also venture to guess that none of the above is going to pass them all. And this is a big realization because we are starting to understand more of how the universe works. Now, we understood how the universe works more in eons past than we have in what we would call the Kali Yuga, the Dark Age, which is a term comes again from Hinduism, from the Sanatana Dharma, which also openly talks about interdimensional beings. It also talks about life elsewhere. It also talks about the wars of the gods that have occurred in the past very, very openly. You don't really get that in a Catholic service, just saying. Yet, Catholics might be in for a fun reign of the new Pope Leo the 14th, the new American Pope, who says baptism for all, even the Martians.
So what's going to happen from here? I keep hearing that famous saying on, I don't know if you guys ever watched the old Lucille Ball shows, where he says, "Lucy, you have some splaining to do." So I think that's going to happen and that's going to go on. But this is the absolute first thing that came up when I heard this news, is that this guy, he's going to be like the disclosure pope. So what kind of beings are going to be disclosed? Well, I don't think they're going to look too far off from what we look like, but we're going to know that they are different.
Yeah, and then, this was the first thing that Cindy said to me, this is the disclosure pope. And so I go looking, and you would think that she's already researched. No, she's just a gifted intuitive psychic. Because as it turns out, look at this. This is real. A sci-fi short story published 20 years ago featured a fictional pope named Leo the 14th. Wait a minute, that's what he just took. Of course it is. Exactly the name of the new pope. In the story, a UFO arrives. The pope weeps and then says, "That thing out there looks like a craft from another world," because it is a craft from another world. And it has come to the Pope's kingdom because it is the kingdom of the Pope. Coincidence or prophecy? Well, yesterday with our dear friend, our Wayne Steiger, again, we are going live on Wayne's channel each and every Thursday at this point because we just have too much fun talking to Wayne and the family over there. It's just an extension of this family, and we are an extension of that family. And in reality, we're soon going to know that humanity is just an extension, humanity on Earth is just an extension of a far greater family. It really, when you look at it, it's really only the dominant modern religions in their more literal fundamentalist point of view that have not understood that there's extraterrestrials out there, that there's not just simply humans on Earth and angels and demons and a creator. No, I mean, and many of us might look at that as being just incredibly silly. How could you not intuitively know that life abounds? It feels like that should be a given. But the indoctrination and, again, the programming that we receive, and it starts at a very young age, again. When I was a kid, that's my introduction to the Catholic Church. Okay, we kneel. Now we're sitting. Now we're standing. Now we kneel. Now we're sitting. Now we're standing. Now we kneel. This is the type of thing. Up, down, up, down. It's again programming. Same programming we get in schools. The first thing you do is stand up and pledge allegiance to a country. And you might not inherently think there's anything wrong with that, but what we're doing is, again, we're sending our energy, our intent to support something that we don't necessarily really understand what it is founded on. And this is part of the Great Awakening that's going on. When we think about timelines, and timelines are always changing. This is a fun timeline we're on now. Oh yeah, it feels like we are on a roller coaster ride, sci-fi movie timeline that's going to boggle some people's minds. It's going to make some people perhaps faint in fear because of the realization that we're not alone. And, there's many visitors out there. In fact, we are visitors when you really get down to it. So it turns out this story was published again 20 years ago, talking about Pope Leo XIV, and this is a copy of that. I'll have all the links for you guys, of course. And then it turns out there was another book, Pope Bob, by Bill Dodds, a compelling and unconventional novel that blends humor, faith, and human struggle in a unique narrative. Story follows Pope Leo the 17th, the first American-born pope, who grapples with a secret battle against alcoholism. After a drunken escapade in Vancouver, he wakes up on Seattle's Skid Row, disorientated and presumed dead after a papal plane crash. Believed to be deceased by the world, Bob descends into homelessness, wrestling with his addiction and identity until Father Peter, a compassionate priest, intervenes to guide him towards redemption. Dodds crafts a lighthearted yet poignant tale exploring themes of addiction, faith, redemption, and the humanity of even the most revered figures. The characters, particularly Bob and Father Peter, are vividly drawn and relatable, their bond providing emotional depth. The novel's brisk pace and dialogue-driven style make it an engaging, quick read, even though some readers note the ending feels abrupt, with a 5-year gap left partially unexplained, despite minor plot contrivances such as Bob's anonymity in a media-saturated world. Dodd's insider knowledge of Catholicism and empathetic portrayal of homelessness shine through, offering a story that resonates universally. Overall, Pope Bob is a touching and thought-provoking read, balancing humor and heartache. It's recommended for those interested in stories of personal transformation, spiritual journeys, regardless of the background. The main character's full name in Pope Bob by Bill Dodds is Robert James Hanrahan, also known as Pope Leo XVII. So when we think back to, of course, we think back to Baron Trump's great adventures. We think back to 1900, the last president. We think back to all the coincidences going on with those. Does it not make you feel that you are living in a novel yourself? I mean, that this is just a story that maybe we've written for our own enjoyment and experiences, or maybe somebody else wrote. Boy, I tell you, you cannot make this stuff up.
No, I mean, ultimately, we all write our own story and we all create what we need around us for our human experience. But I mean, this is part of it. We're all going through this. We're all watching this happen, and this is really interesting. And we'll have to wait and see how things unfold and what things unfold and what's going to happen and all the things. You know, I think we're at a pivotal time, like a kind of a fork in the road, and I do see a few timelines playing out, and I'm shooting for the timeline where we all have very powerful manifesting abilities, so we can manifest a world that we like, and instead of, you know, kind of being herded around with the controllers' ideas of a normal world. I don't like them. I want us to have our own reality and be able to be free and sovereign beings, but who knows, maybe in some way, shape, or form this will lead to that.
Absolutely, and you see the symbolism over here that they're looking at Leo, lion, kingship. You know, again, when you look to Vedic astrology and we look at Trump, and we see the lion all around Trump. Magha is again his nakshatra. We were talking about nakshatras in yesterday's video. Nakshatras are the star rising in the east when we were born. When we come through the Stargate and leave the womb and come into this reality, again, the timing is everything, because it's imprinted on us. This is a matrix. This, you know, again, a big service in some ways that Hollywood has done is introducing us to the concept of a matrix. Do you know, when I was born, hardly anybody even knew what that term meant? It was not a term that was, you know, something that was spoken daily in this world. You know, matrix. Now I just think of matrix as a logical form that something will fit into. You know, it is a form. It is it's an order. It's a border. It's a program. You know, and yet we have a natural matrix. We have a dark matrix that has subverted the natural matrix, and that's being exposed right now. It's always been extraterrestrial. It's always been interdimensional. It's always been ultra-terrestrial, because, again, our portion of Earth is only about 20 to 25% of the entirety of the planet. We are in a quarantine zone. You grew up in a quarantine zone. So when we see, again, things happen like the plague upon the land and humans are in quarantine, this is what our situation has been for thousands of years. The alien invasion happened back in the Younger Dryas extinction event. That's when this planet was attacked and taken over by these energies. When you look to lions and we look to Leo, and you think about kingship. Kingship was given from set from on high, according to the books. What does that really mean? It just means that they came down from the skies in their ships, and they gave us the whole system. They gave us the economic system. We just basically bartered and traded with each other. The economic system is one that is top down and enables people to be controlled. And again, we're stepping into a new timeline with that, and hopefully we will be able to grab control back from the system, because the system is again being exposed. When we look at Leo and Lion, the other thing that is part of that is Lyra. You are taking part in these greater set of wars that have been ongoing for thousands of years, maybe more, maybe millions. And the Lyran Draconian wars, the Lyran mostly against the reptilian and the reptilian beings who are controlled by artificial intelligence, AI. AI is not new to the planet. It's just being revealed to the planet. AI has been running the show behind the scenes since before you and us and any of our ancestors were born. Because it's AI that led that alien invasion here to the planet in the first place. the AI was created by the entities that we call the Draco, which again are reptilian beings. David Icke has done a lot to explain a lot of this. We don't agree with 100% of David Icke, but in the 90s, I would say, yeah, he's pretty damn accurate from what we've seen. He's been ahead of the curve, the entire time. That I've been down this rabbit hole, which goes back to the 80s. Really, that was my awakening, was back in the mid 80s, personally. And, I want to say again, I was actually in high school reading the Bible when all of a sudden it hit me, holy crap, this is really all about aliens. And when I see the day of the Lord and the sign, of them up in the sky, you're talking alien invasion. That's what it was. And that's, again, part of the reality that we're waking up to. So, Lyra and lion humanoid-shaped beings come, from Lyra. Now, you also get totally human beings from Lyra. But again, this is the relationship with the lion to a degree. You'll also look at Narasimha Deva, which is an avatar of Vishnu. And again, a lot of the religious aspects are slightly distorted, per se, from a point of view that we have lost so much of the actual knowledge, and what we have is a little bit of a distortion. So when we see an avatar of Vishnu, I think a lot of times what you're seeing are simply beings that are in alignment with the natural order, and do want to live and respect live in a free way and respect other people's freedom, because you do have benevolent beings out there. I see that there's comments on this and other channels where people are suspicious of again, things like the Galactic Federation, and thinking that they're just dark and evil as well. You'll have a lot of beings that will portray themselves, and I think that's part of the big reveal, is that you'll have beings saying that they're part of the Galactic Federation when they're going to be actually part of the control system. So it's devising that methodology for yourself to discern the truth, which again is going to be impossible if we are, as it is stated, if we are not sharp ourselves, if we are drinking, if we are engaging in mind-altering activity and mind-dulling activity, if you don't build up spiritual discernment, if you don't take care of your temple, if you're abusing things like drugs, etc., legal and illegal, you're not going to be able to discern things. You're just going to be caught up in the sway, and you are also opening up doors to true demonic possession, which is very, very real. So, eat, drink, and be merry. Well, do anything in moderation and be very, very cautious, because every time, you maybe reach for that second bottle, and I'm pulling this out because, again, of the short story that talks about alcoholism and how we lose ourselves in alcoholism. In the Islamic tradition, which, again, alcohol is actually that term is coming from Islam. It's a dark spirit, because it opens us up to dark spirits and to being controlled. And so, quite the opposite. We should be very sober. We should be as sober as we can be in these times. And you could find that there is peace and sobriety, and overcoming addictions is really what humanity needs to do now. One of those addictions is basically the addiction to being told what to do. And to, not think for ourselves, because every time we go down that path, we are truly giving away our power, and we're trusting in the demonic beings themselves.
I gotta say, that's probably the one thing about the work that we do when we do work with people, is I don't like to tell anyone anything about themselves. I'm happy to give guidance and help people find their own path, because that's what we're called to do. We're all individuals. We all have our own way that we want to go. And I think, I've never heard that talked about before, about the addiction to control, and addiction to being told what to do, addiction to being told who you are. Some things really should agree with you. And I'm even leery about the word, does this thing resonate with you? Because does it resonate because that's what you were taught? Or does it resonate because that's what's true in your soul? And you really don't know the truth of that until you kind of unravel your belief system, until you unravel things and set them out so you can see them clearly in front of you. So after you do that, does that thing still resonate? Because so many people, I think this might be a good example. People get in relationships that are very, very bad for them because growing up, there were trouble with the parents, or they grew up with someone who was troubled. They're used to that vibration. They're used to this troubling vibration. So what they do is they find a partner with that similar troubling vibration, because not because it's right for them, but that's what they're used to. So that troubling vibration resonates with them, and it's not right. So that's why we need to heal before, going around and looking into other relationships. We have to get that vibration right inside of ourselves. We have to figure out, were there things that went wrong in childhood? What am I dealing with now? And then we go out and we find other people that are like us and that we truly resonate with. We find belief systems that we truly resonate with, not just the things that we think we resonate with. So it takes some time. It takes some doing. It takes some walking. It takes some self-reflection. It takes some exploring. It takes mistakes. Oh my gosh, a lot of mistakes. I've probably made more than anybody. That's why I'm at where I'm at, because I made more mistakes than you. No kidding. And I just keep learning. So with every mistake that I make, I do my best to go back and look at that and say, okay, where can I do better? We can all look at situations in our life, and maybe we normalize saying, you know what, I could have done better. I really could have.
Absolutely. So I think this says it all. Leo, the disclosure pope with a little reptilian in the background. Because again, that's who the Vatican serves, and it's not just the Vatican. These are the beings that have given us these distortions of belief systems. In which humans are made to believe in concepts like original sin. Just because you're born, again, there's something wrong with you. It's a big reveal, and it's a big awakening that has to happen. And if your belief set is based on, again, these negative self-limiting principles, you really have to ask yourself, why would I believe such a thing? Why would I believe such a thing? Who does it really serve?
Gotta ask our questions. Why? That's the most important question you can ask yourself all throughout your life. If you find your why, you'll find everything you need.
Yes, absolutely. And love is all you need. And this little guy's got tons of it.
He's doing his best. See, why put his paw? I believe in my whole self. Isn't that sweet? Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.